I'm Mark, your low-budget rebuff, and this is Flix on Flix, the show where I attempt to review and analyze any and all Netflix original content. Please excuse my absence. These videos do take a lot of time to make, and life as an adult is already very tiring and time-consuming as it is. Like many of you out there, I too long for the long days past of my childhood. A simpler time where my biggest concern was just wondering whether or not my babysitter and her friends were trying to sacrifice me to Satan for their own selfish ambitions. Wait, that never happened to me. That actually happened to the protagonist of today's movie, which is 2019's The Babysitter, starring the baby-faced boy wonder himself, Jada Lewis, alongside with Samara Weaving as the babysitter, and also kinda sort of starring Robbie Amell as the babysitter's boyfriend? Maybe? I don't know, but don't think about that too much because we're gonna get to that much later. Oh, don't worry, we're gonna get to him, I promise you. So The Babysitter is a horror slash thriller slash comedy slash coming of age tale about Cole, a young boyish nerd who's in the twilight of his tween years that's struggling to overcome some of his childhood fears and insecurities as he attempts to take that next step into the next phase of his ever-progressing life. One weekend when his parents go out of town, Cole's childhood bestie and somewhat crush, B, is called upon once again to babysit him. Later that night, after Cole's been put to bed, he sneaks downstairs just to see what B really gets up to after he falls asleep. But to his misfortune, he discovers that B and her presumed boyfriend Max, along with a few of their other friends, are conducting a satanic ritual that involves human sacrifice. As one thing leads to another, the cult discovers that Cole actually saw them, and so they proceed to chase him throughout the entire house in an attempt to murder him before he even has the slightest chance of telling the police.
Help! Help! I'm trying to protect her! Revive him!
Oh, to be young again. Those were the days. Never grow old, kids. You stay young.
For the love of God, cherish it. You gotta cherish it.
So I remember the very first time my girlfriend and I watched the trailer for this movie. We were searching for something to watch, and I said, "How about The Babysitter?" To which she then replied, maybe. So we watched the trailer, and once it was done, my girlfriend turned to me and bluntly said, "That looks stupid, man!" So we didn't watch it. And it wasn't until way later when I refound it that I actually did give it a go. And after finally seeing it, I can safely say that, yes, it is indeed stupid. But for as far as stupid movies go, it's pretty entertaining, and there is a lot to love here. First off, props to the writer, Brion. The constant setup and payoff shines in this movie every single time. Some are pretty obvious, but there are a few surprises in here that make you think back on it all and say, oh yeah, that thing from before. Cool. Sometimes they resulted in a laugh, misdirect, an extra point of tension, a plot point, a point of character development. They were all just sprinkled in handled the movie so nicely, in a way that they never felt stale or cheap. Along with that, I really believe the characters of Cole and B really work well together in this movie. Part of its writing and some of its directing, but Jada Lewis and Samara Weaving really have great chemistry together. They really do. They're looking like they're having so much fun, and it really shows up on screen, and it really portrays the full dynamic of what that relationship is. Sometimes it's a very buddy-buddy, big sis, little bro sort of thing. At other times, it's more like the hot, unattainable vixen playing off against the small, meek, shy, uncomfortable young boy who's trying to act older or just beyond his years to impress her. It never steers too far in any one direction. And I really bought these two as a very particular type of friends with a very specific dynamic. And it adds so much story to the movie, especially when B ultimately becomes the villain of the movie.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I
am evil. And before anyone jumps on me about spoilers, it's revealed in the trailer that B, the babysitter, is actively trying to murder Cole, the babysittee. So please don't get on me about that. Just had to get that off my chest. Anyways, one more thing that I thought was pretty cool, but a little out of place, was this one particular stylistic choice. Overall, the direction of this movie really works. Decent tension, decent horror, decent comedy, but at times it does get a little Scott Pilgrim-y in its representation. Certain sound cues and visual effects just feel like they're lifted straight from Scott Pilgrim, or are a little video gamey, and it just feels like they put them in this movie just because they thought it would be cool. And it was, and I liked it. But to some, it might feel distracting or just feel out of place. And since we're on the subject of gripes, which I don't have many, there are a few times where Cole has a perfect opportunity to escape, but he chooses to run in a completely different direction and avoids all obvious exits around him. Granted, in the heat of the moment, a child might make some bad choices. But Cole is a smart kid, so I would just like to see him make consistent smart choices in the movie. But also, I feel like the director could have just changed the angle of a shot, or maybe made the layout of a set a little different so that maybe Cole can't see obvious exits, or something like that. Regardless, an easy fix, but I won't harp on it too much, given the type of movie that this is. So, another small gripe I have is the other cult members. So aside from B, you actually have 4 other killers, all who do a pretty good job of being quirky, cartoonish, silly, and menacing to various degrees. But 3 of them don't have a ton to do in the movie, and all of them are dispatched fairly easily. Now that's not to say that each don't get a moment to shine, but they're not terribly consequential to the film as a whole. But finally we come to my biggest gripe with the movie, and that is Max, the boyfriend. Earlier, I said he sort of stars in the movie, and he is kind of sort of the second command, and he does have some good bits here and there. But there's a chase sequence between him and Cole that starts out with some ferocity, but eventually it slows the movie to a halt. Max is supposed to be the most deranged of the group, that's there for the thrill of the kill more than anything. And it's clear that he relishes in the chase and the inevitable murder of his victims. But in the midst of his pursuit for Cole, right when he has him dead to rights, he allows Cole to do something in order to literally let Cole's character progress. It's a strange sidebar that does have a funny callback and does offer an extra point of growth for Cole, but I feel like at this point he's had enough growth to justify his character arc that just kind of makes this one feel a little superfluous. But overall, I dig the movie. It's a little on the dumb, cheesy, silly side with its premise. A little junk foodie, especially with the Quentin Tarantino-esque blood.
I mean, do you think that God came down from heaven and stopped
what it is. It's executed well. It's fun. It's a good time on the couch.
All right.
Yeah, but that's about all I got. It's pretty cut and dry, so please like, share, and subscribe this video if you see fit, or leave a comment down below. Tell me what you thought of the movie. I think it's a great time, so please give it a shot if you would. But one last thing before I go, I do have a new project I'm working on with my friend Darren Lowe. We have a podcast together called Rice and Spice. We discuss movies, sometimes a little bit of sports and video game culture as well, but mostly movies and story and breakdowns of a bunch of other stuff. So if you want to give that a listen, go to Podbean, just type in Rice and Spice, and you'll be able to find us. We have 5 episodes up right now. They're all pretty good. We get better with each one. It's a new format for me. It's a new format for him, but it's a great time. So please go enjoy us there. But that's all the time I have for today, guys. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Flix on Flix. Remember, my name is Levi Mock, your low-budget movie buff. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay awesome. Stay you. Peace, guys. Bye.